Hello, sunshine. Welcome to my classroom. I am Bianca Bueno, aka Miss Beauty Fluent, and today I just wanted to do a deep dive into what to expect out of your aesthetic program, right? Because there's a lot of misconception and a lot of people who don't understand what this program actually entails. So I want to dive in and, elaborate on what's expected of you when you join this program. Now, a little intro. My name is Bianca Bueno. My students like to call me Miss B. I'm so glad you're here. So please subscribe, like all our videos, because there's going to be a lot of great information. Now, I am a licensed esthetician. I'm a licensed aesthetic instructor. I'm director of education at the Beauty Crew Academy, which is located in Chicago. And I'm a ray of goddamn sunshine. So I'm happy to have you in my class, and I'm hoping you take so much out of this course. Now, you're ready to enroll, you've been looking around, and now you're kind of trying to figure out, what does this program actually entail? What are these learning outcomes, right? So, as like a general, I have, some certain things I know most schools will cover, but of course every school is going to be very different, which is why there's so many options. So you can pick the one that's obviously best suited to your needs. But in general, most programs are going to be designed to provide students with the necessary education to administer aesthetic treatments and obtain licensure. Now, I know, there's a lot of people who are always like, oh, the school is just there to get your license. You learn nothing. And that is so far from the truth. And I hate that narrative. And I hope that I can help change your mind on that, because it is the most distracting and horrible way to start a program. It is the worst. I feel like students have that mindset and they're itching to find that problem with their program. And the program is actually really great. Most schools do use Milady education, which is amazing. It is my dream as an instructor to be using the Milady curriculum. It is awesome. It has been updated. There are so many really, really great resources through Milady. So I honestly love it. I think it's the best thing to happen. I love the newest update as an instructor, and I feel like it should make it a lot easier for someone who's never been in the industry to maneuver and get that fundamental information through Milady. So shout out Milady. They're my favorite. But now, upon, completing your program, you should be able to make proper safety judgments, number one. This is crucial, right? This is why you're in school, because you need to start seeing people. You need to understand, what you should be doing on the client's skin, what you shouldn't be doing, what are contraindications, who's not suited for these treatments. This is the whole point of the program. So keep that in mind, right? Next is display professional work habits. Now, this is going to, start right off with your program, right? We want to start, making you as a professional, right? We want to break those bad habits. So number one's going to be, attendance, being on time, dressing the part. We just want to know that, students are leaving and, your future employer or your future clients are impressed with how professional you are in the treatment room, during consultation, during sanitation, during, all these steps that we take in service. We want you to be, that top dog. Next thing is going to be fundamental business understanding. Now, everyone and their mother is always like, I didn't learn anything about business, but we do. We actually do. There's a few chapters on business. And, I think that it kind of gets away from students because it's kind of they're kind of boring chapters. I'm not going to lie, but there is that fundamental business understanding in these chapters. So don't shit on the business chapters, because all that information is in there and it's great information. Next, we have our foundational coursework that's going to help you get that license, right? So the entire book, once you work through it, you should be able to definitely get your license when you're done. If you're cheating, if you're looking up those answers on Quizlet, you're not going to get your license because you're not giving yourself the chance to retain this information. And I know a lot of people say 6 months, oh my God, it's so long, blah, blah, blah. There is, to me, it goes by fast. And number two, there's so much downtime sometimes, especially depending on how busy your clinic is, that you have more than enough time to get this information in your brain. This book is great. Most, state boards actually use Milady in their testing. So keep that in mind. Like when you're sitting there chilling or hiding in a treatment room, you should be reading your goddamn book, or go to that like end of summary, take those practice tests, because this is all, this is what we're here for, to get this goddamn license, and the information is there. So you need to start, opening that book and reading. Next thing is going to be provide hands-on treatments. So first thing that you're going to learn, of course, is going to be your fundamental, which is like your basics of a facial. So there's usually like a facial that you'll learn, and then there'll usually be like a signature technique for your school. That too is going to vary. It just is going to depend on your program, but for sure you're leaving there doing a million facials. That's like the number one goal for our students, that they leave there, doing tons of facials and feeling confident with that. If you're lucky, you'll have a really good waxing instructor. That's the next thing that you would learn in your program. I know that some programs don't teach waxing anymore, which is really unfortunate. But I know that there are some students that don't want to learn waxing. So for them, they could care less. But it's always, always, always such a good tool to have under your belt. I always make my students do at least one Brazilian, and they like want to kick me in the face, but they are so much better for it, and honestly, they're always happy after they've done it. It's just such an easy moneymaker, you guys. Like, waxing is what holds you up in this business sometimes. Even if it's just brow waxing, like you can literally thrive off of that service alone. So don't be scared of waxing. Next, you're going to learn advanced modalities. So that's usually going to be your like ultrasonic skin scrubber, your microderm. Maybe you'll have a crystal microderm. We also go over usually galvanic. We go over microcurrent. That vacuum machine. Basically, any tool on the 8-function machine, you're going to learn, which is really exciting and really fun. Next, you will learn lash and brow tinting. It's usually very fundamental. That's just like a given to learn. You should always practice that while you're in school. Next thing you'll learn probably is lash tabbing as well, which is kind of like cluster lashes. You'll also learn spray tanning, most likely, maybe not, just again, depends on your program, but a great tool to have under your belt as well. And then you'll definitely learn some type of body treatment. So that could be body wraps, that could be like the Vichy shower, whatever the hell it's called. Let's see, like body detoxes, mainly body wraps, things like that. You'll for sure learn. Now, this is big. You really, 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 really have to advocate for yourself and double check if you're going to learn lash extensions, lash lift, brow lamination, even waxing. Honestly, I would just double check and ask. These are all considered advanced, treatments, and they might not cover it. And the reason being is because, maybe your teacher hasn't even done that. They're not going to feel comfortable doing it. They're not going to know how to troubleshoot. God forbid you're doing lashes on someone, you glue someone's eye shut, and your teacher's going to be like, I don't have any of the tools or things here or the education on how to fix this, right? So it's too much of a liability. So that is why you always need to triple check. I tell my students, when you're touring prospective schools, ask them, DM students. Like, that's like the easiest thing. Students are always tagging the school on Instagram. I'm like, go to her Instagram, DM her, quietly, and just be like, hey, like, what's your experience? Are you liking it? Ask if there's a freaking teacher, because sometimes, there are schools that don't have a teacher on staff, or maybe you have a teacher like once a week. So advocate for yourself, triple check, do that school tour, kind of try to read the room, read people's body language, because it's very, very telling when you go on those tours. Let's see. Next thing you're gonna, have as your learning outcome is gonna be that you're gonna be able to get an entry-level position in either aesthetics or the medical aesthetics career field, right? Now, getting into, medical aesthetics, there's no such thing as like actual medical esthetician. Typically, sometimes too, you'll even be working kind of like as a medical assistant, but it just kind of helps boost you to have like that aesthetic background because you're probably going to do peels, laser, facials anyway. But usually I feel like when you're in an actual med spa, you're not really working as an esthetician sometimes. It just depends on the med spa. And then with your entry level aesthetic, careers, those are going to be mainly like your well-rounded esthetician. They're going to assume that you do know how to wax, you do know how to do a facial, you understand these devices, because they're not trying to waste any more time. That's why you were in school for 6 months, doing that hands-on. They don't really want to go out of their way to train you. They rather spend the money maybe on an advanced training, or they rather buy like the machine and then get training on that, versus like all these very, very fundamental things that should have been knocked out in your course. So keep that in mind too when you guys are actually in school. Now, this part is so fucking crucial. What to consider before enrolling. Oh my god, girls. If I could have a show, just like working in a school, it'd be the goddamn best school. But these are like the main things that I notice that everyone truly, truly needs to consider before enrolling. So number 1, are you ready to commit the time and energy? Yeah, bitch, because it is going to be a long ass 6 months. It took me, I swear, I think 8 months when I did aesthetic school because I missed so much goddamn school. So are you ready to commit that time? Can you take the time off work? It's basically like having like a full-time job and being broke, pretty much. I always tell my students, these are the dark days, but I promise you at the end, like we'll be, rolling in the money, but we have to go through kind of those like dreary days. And it's so, so, so easy to get kicked out of a program, you guys, because of attendance. So keep that in mind. Like, you don't want to enroll in this program and then we're rolling into winter maybe, right? And then now it's too hard for you to get to school. That all is going to come into play and no one gives a damn. At the end of the day, they want you there because if you're not hitting your satisfactory academic, whatever the hell it's called, you will lose your financial aid and it's a bitch to get it back. So keep that in mind. Are you in the right headspace? Sometimes I think people are a little bit impulsive and then they, book this course or they sign up and then next thing you know, it's first day of school, they're sitting in class and they're realizing, oh shit, this is like actually a lot of, commitment when it comes to homework, when it comes to projects, when it comes to hands-on, working with people. And then next thing you know, they're withdrawing, which some schools will try to work with you so you're not losing financial aid, you're not going through hell about this. But some others won't and they could care less. So keep that in mind. Be in the right mind space, headspace when you're starting to enroll into this program. Do not be impulsive. This is not a good thing to be impulsive with. Next, are you open and ready to be coached? Oh my god. This part, I don't know what it is, but I just feel like, God, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. There's some people who don't take constructive criticism lightly. They take it personally, and it should never be taken as personal because it's just to help you, right? And usually your instructor, they're going to put their 2 cents in because they know the problem that you're going to run into, and they're just trying to assist in avoiding that. So make sure you're ready to be coached and you're open to it because that's a big, big part of this program. Next, are you okay with working with clients? Now, I don't know why people assume that we're not going to work on a client. If you have already been trained in a certain service or a certain, you saw the demo or you've already gone through the chapter, maybe even if you didn't do it once on a friend, you have to fucking do it when the person comes in, the client. I always stress this, especially the first week of the program. I'm like, listen, girlies, I know you're scared, and whatever is the one service that really, really stresses you out, do it now. Do it today. You should have did it yesterday. Do it ASAP because one of these days that client is going to come in asking for that service, and then all of a sudden no one came to school that day, and maybe it's just you that day, and now you have to do it because we're not turning the client away. So make sure that you're okay with that. you're gonna have to do it. Most schools are going to require, X amount of services being done in order for you to even graduate. So it's par for the course. You got to do it. So keep that in mind. I feel like the thing I noticed the most is that there's a lot of like lash artists that like are obviously seasoned. They're good to go. They know how to do lashes already. Then they're in school for, like just to get their license because they were working without it. And they do not want to touch a goddamn face like at all. Like they don't want to do the facial. And I'm always like, I get it that you're good at this one thing, but you have to do this now. Like there's no choice. I can't do it. You have to do it. And if you don't do the service, you can be asked to leave for the day and you won't get the hours for the day. And I don't know if you know this by now, but if you're missing hours, every hour you accumulate that is going over your time frame, you're gonna get charged for. So it's just not worth it. Take the client. I always tell everyone, no one can skip day one. It's awkward as shit. But once you get over that first awkward appointment, it will never happen again because you're gonna be so goddamn prepared. So keep that in mind. You will be working with live paying people at your school if you're lucky. The other girls who aren't lucky might not have that busy of a clinic, which really, really sucks for, estheticians. We got to just start getting used to working with strangers because the strangers are going to be all up in your appointment book. So keep that in mind. Are you okay with nudity? So nudity in school, like there's some schools where I'm like, you could tell that it's like a very shy classroom and no one wants to be nude. And that's totally fine. You obviously don't have to be. But you might be in a class that no one cares to be naked. Like they all are walking around naked. And are you okay with being around that? Again, like at the school I was at, we got a ton of Brazilian regulars and they're totally willing to lay on that table and be your model. And again, you have to you couldn't turn away the client. If you even had never done the Brazilian, if you saw it, you still had to do it if you were the first one up, next one to go. So, luckily we didn't have any issues with girls being, too shy to like do the actual Brazilian or to like see someone else naked, but it's gonna happen. And also you have to be very professional. You cannot body shame people. That is like grounds for dismissal 9 times out of 10. Are you capable of being timely, professional, and respectful of authority? This is my major big one. Oh my God, I need to like sound the alarm. There are people that are in charge of you. And unfortunately, sometimes they're the same age as you because they went to school a lot longer ago and maybe you're just getting into the field. And that's where there's like, people, boundaries getting crossed, I guess you could say. So if someone, if you have an issue with someone younger than you, telling you what to do, that might be an issue. And I don't know, you got to consider that. Look at the teachers. What are their ages? When I walked around the school, most people didn't know I was a teacher because I blended in with students, right? But at the end of the day, like I always tell, my students, like, half the time they're either my age, younger, or older than me. And I would just say, I don't see you as someone beneath me, even though I have more years in the industry. I consider you, my colleague, and I consider you an equal to me. And I just want you to get as much out of me as you possibly can. I want you to pick my brain. I want you to watch me work. I want you to pay attention to the things I'm saying, because I want you to be at the same level as me when you leave here, because I'm your teacher. So luckily I never had too many issues, not too many issues with someone respecting me. But when someone obviously was disrespectful, knowing your heart that the teachers are keeping a track record of that. And if you are completely, totally not respectful, now you're a disturbance, you more than likely will be removed from the program. And most schools have that right to do that. So if you're someone who's doesn't work well with women, doesn't work well with, being told like, hey, you're being late too many times or you're doing this too much. And, if you take it personally, again, this program might not be it for you. which I'm not trying to be negative Nancy, but it happens. So I always say, come into this program when you're ready to like work, put your head down, get down to it, get your hands dirty. But anything like that you feel like you're problematic, I just would not, I don't know, it's like the easiest way for like everyone to turn on you. And it's not a good thing. I mean, not like teachers, but like more like students, because they will feel that you are obviously causing a really big disruption to their program that they paid a lot of money for also. So just come into it, being friendly, open-minded, and just ready to learn, honestly. Okay, now on to our time commitment. So attendance, like I said earlier, is the most important thing for you in this program. Most schools are going to be strict on what time you're arriving, what time you're leaving, and of course, like missing school. So most of the time you can't really miss that much. They might give you like X amount of hours before you start getting in trouble that you can like call off. Some of the schools are like more like lenient, some of them are a lot stricter. Some of them have like a pretty like okay like attendance like mandatory, whatever. But again, it is up to you to ask those questions. I have people that will say, I want to be an esthetician, and I'm like, you should do it, go for it. And like, well, yeah, I think I'll start this time because I have like, and then I have a vacation this time, and I'm like, wait, don't start it then if you're going to have a vacation, especially if it's more than 2 weeks. If you're gone 2 weeks, you are like automatically kicked out of a program. So that's like number one when you're booking or like signing up for your like program. Don't do it when you already know that you have like a lot of vacations coming up, because again, every school is different, but they might say no. They'll be like, you can go maybe a week without getting any like penalty, but anything more than that, usually you're kicked out. So keep that in mind. Most of the programs are going to take about 6 to 12 months to complete on average. When I was in school, I missed a lot of days, and I swear it took me like 8 months. Even with like making up dates, it still took me like 8 months to finish the program. Again, with making up dates, say you're absent a lot, you need to ask your school, is there room for me to make up hours? Because some of them don't. Some of them will let you, some of them won't let you make up hours. So then you're in this program. I always call them my super seniors. You're like in this program like 8, 9, sometimes a year, because you miss so much school and there's no room to like make up hours. So keep that in mind as well. Some examples of like a school schedule would be like my school. I liked it. It was Tuesdays to Saturdays, 9 to 3:30 for the full-time program. And then it was Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays from 6 to 9:30. And then they had to do 2 Saturdays a month, which were 9 to 3:30. So again, every school is going to vary. I've seen schools that are like Mondays to Fridays, and they're usually like 9 to like 5. It just all depends on the school. I know there's some schools that have like the morning shift, afternoon, and then like the night shift. So again, you have to usually inquire about the hours and find out what their schedule looks like. That's going to work best for you. The thing that stinks is sometimes like your dream school has the most inconvenient hours, and you're like, God, if only this school had these hours, it'd work out perfectly. But yeah, that's just like one of the issues most of us run into, like trying to figure out what program is going to work best for you. And honestly, if there's like a dream school and the hours don't work, I would pick the dream school with the hours that don't work. I would figure it out, because there's nothing worse than picking the other school just because of the time convenience and then being let down by the actual program. So yes, keep that in mind when you're choosing your program. Now, once or I guess I should say before you even sign that dotted line, one thing you have to keep in mind is that yes, this program is 6 months. It's pretty quick. You are going to get all that fundamental information that you need to like pass state board and whatnot. But this is a career where you will always have to take classes. Let me say that again. You will always, forever until infinity, need to take classes. And every state's different. But in the state of Illinois, in order to keep your license active, you do need continuing education courses. So as an esthetician, you need 10 CEU hours, and 5 of them can be done online as a self-study course, and then 5 have to be in person. Or you can do 5 or 10, all 10 in person if you'd like, but never more than 5 online. They do push this on everybody. And honestly, I wouldn't see it as something, to be like frowned upon or like looked down on. I love taking classes. I take so many goddamn classes. It's just par for the course. Again, with this, field, we have to keep up with everyone else. People find better techniques, people find better product, people innovate things, and I want to be the first one to freaking know so I can like offer it to my client, because when I'm the first and when I'm highly educated, I can charge whatever the fuck I want to charge. So basically in Illinois, your first renewal, you won't need to get CEU hours, but your second one, you will. We renew every odd year. So like this year's 2023, so September 30th, 2023 is renewal deadline. And you obviously will start sourcing like where you're going to take your CEU classes from. There's usually like a few, known names, and then the rest of them can always be found on the state's, website. I don't know how current they keep it, to be honest, probably not that current. But there are, schools, usually like aesthetic schools will like offer CEUs. My job that I work at, we're just literally a CEU provider school. And what's kind of cool is that most of our classes we kind of brought on because like our students actually come back over and over and over, and they can't take the same class that they already did, so they started suggesting things that they thought like would be beneficial to their business. And then so what we do as a school is we source really good products, we source education, we take countless classes, we try to get super educated on the service and then bring on that really good product, and then we deliver that to students either in person or online. And we are pretty known in the industry in Illinois. I would say we're the top CEU school, but I don't know, I might be biased. But yeah, like there are plenty of options. There are some online, but don't forget, 5 in person, 5 online. That's your max that you can do. Another thing I wanted to mention is that there is a renewal fee, but it's not very expensive. I want to say it's about $50. So yeah, so I just always like to mention, how you're going to be keeping your license active, because most people don't realize that. And then, it kind of annoys them that they're like, great, I gotta, take this, I had to do this whole school. Now I have to like keep this license active. What if I take a break? But honestly, like, continuing education, it's always going to be beneficial to you. It's always going to be beneficial to your, your clients, to your business. So it's something to look forward to. I genuinely love, getting my CEU classes done. I wish that some of the classes I've taken had CEU hours because they were just like really great classes. So keep that in mind. You will have to renew every odd year to keep that license active. Now, what is the job outlook and salary? So, what's kind of funny? I remember when I was like kind of diving into, the idea of going to aesthetic school, the first thing I did was I went on Indeed and I looked up esthetician positions. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to see were there even jobs. Like, say, like this lash extension thing didn't work out for me. Can I actually get a job with this? Is it worth it? Like the money that I'm about to pay, the time that I'm about to commit. And I remember looking on there and seeing like some good prospects. Like, obviously everyone wants to be a medical esthetician. So seeing med spa job postings were kind of like fun and exciting. So I did get like a good kind of like idea of what was out there. Of course, no one ever puts what they pay, which is super annoying. But I feel like every med spa is going to vary, and it's going to be different when it comes to how you're going to get paid. Some might just give you hourly, some might do commission only. But again, it's just going to depend on what job you take an interview at. I know for a fact that when I work for myself, I make the most money. So that's why, as much as I was like, oh, cool, being a medical esthetician, blah, blah, blah. When I got a taste of that lash money, I was like, I'm never working for anyone else. I don't want anyone to be in charge of me. I just kind of want to do my own thing. I want to have my own vibe. I want to have the best products. I don't want to be rushed. I don't want to feel like someone is over my shoulder. And, I started making really good money before I even graduated school, which was very exciting for me. And it helped me know that I made the right decision for myself and for my family. I was able to finish college, like just being an esthetician, because I was able to make my own hours. I'm making cash every day, which was really nice. I was able to work with my schedule only. And not someone else's. So keep that in mind, because there's sometimes like I meet students and I'm like, oh my God, like, they're dead set on being like a medical esthetician or something. And I'm like, your look, your energy, like if you were just a straight on waxer, I'm like, I feel like you would pull so many clients and make so much more goddamn money. If instead of being, like a medical esthetician. But of course I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. But I just know that there's so much money to be made, and sometimes I don't know, sometimes bosses don't pay you your worth, and it really sucks. And it's just across the board with any job, of course. But I just know that the money that could be made, and if you're smart, you can make a ton of money. So I'm always just trying to like plant seeds about other ideas in my students' heads, because it's this career. I tell everybody, it is not just, black and white. Like you can do so much. My problem was always that I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be a rep. I wanted to, be an educator. I wanted to, do lashes, and I want to do lash lifts, and I want to do brow lamination. So it's like, for me, the limit is endless, and I don't want students to feel so closed-minded and like not open to like offering more services. Even like deeper into my career, even like doing waxing wasn't like super scary to me anymore. So you'll find that once you build that confidence, when you're offering services, you're so much more open to adding, more things onto your service menu. So don't limit yourself. If you want to start at a med spa, go for it. Like make that money, hear those conversations, get educated, work alongside professionals, and then take what you can with you, and then kind of like grow from there. But yeah, the limits are endless. Estheticians don't put their salaries, and I don't know why. But I feel like whenever I've Googled it, it's always like $30,000, and I'm like, no, it's obviously way more than that. People probably just aren't claiming their cash, or they just don't want people to know. But there's definitely money to be made. You can have a very lucrative career, but you just have to work. And that's the biggest thing. You need to work hard. You need to respect your instructors. You might not know, but they know a lot of people usually, and they usually will give you that hand up if you're, putting in the work. I always do that. Like on the side, I'm always like, dude, you'd be great for this job, or oh my God, I have this position, or oh my God, so-and-so asked me like if I knew someone who does this, and I told them you. We pay attention to that. I always am looking and paying attention. And to me, like usually the most quietest student, like they'll be the first one where I pull aside and I'm like, you're doing an amazing job. And I know, because you're not like alpha energy or like the loudest in the room, don't think that you're not making a deep impact on me, because I'm paying attention and I'm noticing what you're doing, and you're doing really, really good. So keep that in mind. Work hard, get as much as you possibly can while you're in the treatment room, while you have these like resources available to you, and then start, plotting like what's next, and get excited, because this industry is so exciting. Now, last but not least, I leave you with a little summary of our conversation. So, think long and hard when you're ready to commit to your aesthetic program. Look at all the schools. Don't just visit one and pick the one. Look at multiple. Make sure there's an instructor on staff. Oh my God. Like, please, God, there is a teacher shortage. I literally just quit my job. I was a teacher. Like, I just could not take it anymore. There's a teacher shortage. Know that in your heart. People are being not so nice to instructors, and I feel like that they are getting burnt out, and even the ones that are nice are getting burnt out. So whenever, if you're even, say you're in a program now, tell these jerks to chill the fuck out, because when there's no teacher, there is nothing worse. Having no teacher, that'll literally halt an entire program, because there's not enough hands and not enough people and no one to teach. And it's a nightmare finding teachers, I promise you. So just make sure that there's a teacher on staff. Make sure that you're liking the attendance, what's mandatory, what they're expecting of you, and that you can commit to that. And make sure that you are understanding everything that is included in your program, down to, am I learning, these advanced services like lash extensions, down to, am I getting a kit? So make sure you ask all those questions. Look at the reviews and look at the most recent reviews, and keep that in mind when you make your decision. But if you make the wrong decision, it's okay. Get that book out and start reading, because before you know it, it'll be all over and it'll be time to take your state board. So like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram. My name is Miss Beauty Fluent on Instagram and on TikTok. If you have any questions, DM me, and you can just get used to getting all these really informative videos coming to you constantly, hopefully every week.